I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, March the 20th, brought to you in part by Legacy Beef Cooperative. Become a member of the Legacy Beef Co-op, which will own a 20% stake in the Cattleman's Heritage Beef Plant being constructed near Council Bluffs, Iowa. They are now in the third of 5 investment rounds, and for $10 a head, you can secure a harvest spot. For more information, go to legacybeefcoop.com. More weather delays, and we had a storm come through a week ago, and it didn't materialize as bad as what they thought it was. And that could be a reason that people weren't really thinking that this storm was going to be too much, and they weren't talking about a whole lot of measurable snowfall, mostly just blowing snow and drifts and things like that. Well, this one turned out to be worse than what they thought. And the blowing snow and the drifts in eastern Nebraska, western Iowa, northwest Kansas was terrible. Closed interstate highways and packing plants, and was really tough on people out there trying to calve, but really bad, a lot worse than what they thought. And the packing plant closures and the interruptions there is probably more troublesome for the plants themselves than it is the cattle feeders, like sometimes it is whenever cattle can't get harvested, because these packing plants, they need the product. They've promised the product. They've got to get some blood on the floor and get some beef in the coolers there, but your cattle feeders are still in very tight supplies, especially up north there. So we're thinking that this is not going to hurt the market at all. I wouldn't think. Packers are very aggressive this week already, and been bidding more than what the high market was last week. They're talking maybe 210 or possibly 212 in the north this week. No telling what they might get in the southern plains, or no telling how much of that market the Packers will hide and just give bonuses there and then call it some type of a formula and hide the market in there. But they'll do whatever they can to keep those weighted average prices low, because that will affect all the cattle that they buy on the formula or the grid based off of one of those weighted averages there. But more blowing dust in the southern plains and more fires. This is a miserable time of the year, especially in the southern plains, because the wind is just fierce. There's a lot of changing of the systems, and if you look, that's really what wind is an uneven heating of the earth. And when you start seeing a major change going from the winter into the spring, you see these high winds, and they just make things absolutely miserable for the areas that are worst struck there. But we do have a packing plant that we've been talking about for a long time that is now finished. Sustainable Beef in North Platte, Nebraska has now been completed, and they are having an open house, a ribbon cutting, and tours coming up here Monday, March the 24th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they're expecting to run the first few head through that plant sometime in May. So we were looking at April start. That's not too bad as a May start there, and they're going to start kind of slow. It's a brand new build. It's not revamped packing plant. It's total new construction there. So they'll start out with just a few head and start working them up, and be quite a while before they get up to full efficiency there. But it's pretty exciting to see that plant be finished and be starting to harvest cattle here. Poor time. Of course, they didn't know that whenever they started, but man, as tight as the supplies of cattle are, it'd be tough. But they've kind of got their source of cattle already set up to themselves, so I'm sure they'll be fine once they get up and going. Let's talk about your board on Wednesday. April live cattle futures up $1.45 at 206.82. June was up $1.85 at 202.85. And your back months on live cattle up 52 to up 137. So after kind of a calm day on Tuesday, picked right back up and quite a bit higher on Wednesday. March feeder cattle up $1.85 at 286.82. April was up 217 at 286.72. And your back months all up big on your feeder cattle futures from $1.37 higher to $2.42 higher. Look at your grains. May corn was up 3 1/4 cents a bushel at 4.62. May beans down 4.5 cents a bushel at 10.08 1/4. And hard red winter wheat for May down 11.5 cents a bushel at 5.94 3/4. We haven't seen any fat cattle trade negotiated cash basis this week at all. Everybody's dug in. Of course, your packers tipped their hand last week and the end of the previous week on how tight on supplies they all are, and big gains last week. A lot of cattle feeders expecting big gains again this week. Did have a couple of good-sized fat cattle auctions. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota had 1,050 head of slaughter cattle there, including all classes. They were steady to $2 higher on the fed cattle. Conventional fat cattle selling from 204 to 208 1/4. Program cattle, non-implanted or drug-free, from 203 to 209 1/2. They did have dairy cross-fed cattle selling from 205 1/2 to 206 1/2. I thought that was awfully good. Glacial Lakes Livestock in Watertown, South Dakota, sold their fed cattle $3 to $8 higher than last week. About 800 head on offer there. Conventional fed cattle selling from $2 to 204, and the program cattle in Watertown selling from 204 to 212.75. They had big fat fed cows selling from 144 to 155 at Glacial Lakes Livestock. Now your box beef cutout values, choice cuts up big, and likely this light slaughter that they had a lot due to the weather is going to boost that even more, because they've got tight supply, especially loose-handed tight supplies there on your spot market, and your slaughter was only estimated to be 96,000 on Wednesday, and likely it was much lighter than that as the storms moved in. But choice box beef cutouts up 6.29 at 329.61. Selects were down 55 cents at 308.68. Now your slaughter, I said we had a really light slaughter there for Wednesday estimated, and they'll likely revise that down even more. But as far as what we have right now, up through the first 3 days of the week, 333,000 estimated cattle slaughter. That's 29,000 less than this point last week, 22,000 less than this point a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. Gene Plus, Brangus, they've got this deal figured out on the Brangus and the Ultra Blacks, guys. If you want to tick a ear, but not too much, and honestly, not too much, and a sheath design that the industry accepts, Gene Plus is also the first top dollar Angus certified Brangus and Ultra Black program in America. To find these bulls, you can go to Chimney Rock Cattle Company's production sale in Concord, Arkansas, coming up Tuesday, March the 25th. And for more information about Gene Plus, go to geneplusbrangus.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance, working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Wednesday, after your sales had all closed, set at 285.85 based on an 800-pound cash auction steer. That was up $1.44 compared to the end of trading on Tuesday. So it just keeps gaining ground every day. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index trailing right behind at 284.65. Some big sales late this week. You might want to check out Nevada Livestock Marketing. That's where I'm headed out on Thursday. Then I have about 6,000 head there in Fallon, Nevada at Nevada Livestock Marketing. We're going to start at 9 o'clock Pacific. That'll be 11 o'clock Central, guys. Lots and lots of grazing cattle in a grazing condition, and the health will be outstanding on those. Another sale it's going to have on Friday is Sulphur Springs, Texas, is going to have 5,300 for the weaned calf and yearling special there on Friday. You don't see sales like that far down into Texas, guys, very often, but they had a good weigh-up sale earlier in the week on Monday. Their top killing bull weighed 2185 and brought 209. These bulls are getting high. They're higher than the choice fed cattle, guys. Let's talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma had 9,500 head for their Tuesday calf sale and Wednesday feeder sale there. The feeder steers on Wednesday were $1 to $3 higher. Feeder heifers $3 to $5 higher. Calves on Tuesday were mostly steady with the sharply higher market that they had the prior week. So a really good sale there at OKC West this week. Was your National BeefWire stick-out sale of the day. For the Wednesday feeder sale, look at your best tested weights, and of course they were all heavier. They had 646 head of 7-weight steers, average 741 at $300.80. That's pretty impressive, guys. 1,607 head of 8-weight steers in El Reno, Oklahoma, averaged 847 at $279.36, and 1,066 head of 9-weight steers, averaged 939 at $260.36. Look at some heifers. How about 375 head of 6-weight heifers, average 665 at $288.48. 1,633 head of the 7-weight heifers, average 751 at $269.39, and 568 head of 8-weight feeder heifers averaged 850 pounds with a weighted average price of $251.50. Give you some individual quotes from all around. How about back east there? North Arkansas Livestock in beautiful downtown Green Forest, Arkansas sells 141 steers, weight 799, right at 800 pounds, guys, at $289.50 in Arkansas in the ring. How about Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming? They sell 87 steers, weight 602 at $371.50. Hub City Livestock up in Aberdeen, South Dakota sells 75 steers, weight 814 at $299. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Wednesday in your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day come out of Stockman's Livestock Market in Yankton, South Dakota. The feeder sale on Wednesday, they sell 130 feeder steers, weight 883 at $289.50. And that's your feeder flash for Thursday.